Welcome back to Organist Launchpad, a series of educational videos produced by the Royal Canadian College of Organists. My name is Jonathan Oldengarm, and I'm Minister of Music at Metropolitan United Church in Toronto, Ontario. In this segment on Protestant hymn playing, we're going to look at some 19th century hymn tunes. In the last video, we looked at Reformation hymns and psalms from the early Baroque and late Renaissance. We're going to now move into a more subjective world. The melodies are more subjective, the texts are a little more emotive, and we can use a broader range of chromatic harmonic language that'll be native to the language of the melodies themselves. A word of caution here. We want the chromaticism to enrich the congregational singing and to enrich the sense of the text, but not to overwhelm the congregation or to confuse them. T. Tertius Noble of St. Thomas Fifth Avenue commended his teacher Charles Villiers Stanford's improvised hymn harmonizations for their taste and restraint. Let's be like Stanford. The first melody I would like to look at is Laudes Domini, When Morning Gilds the Skies. This is a broad, sweeping tune that suggests that we should do a playover of some dramatic import and some weight and some sweep and some kind of orchestral scope. We hear that the melody has a large arc of range and a fairly wide dynamic range too, and there's a kind of invocation quality to it. So I'll improvise an introduction and a couple of different harmonizations, two different ways of presenting the melody. One more standard four-part, and then another with the melody in the tenor, soloed on the left hand. A few possibilities there. We turn now to another hymn from the Romantic school, Eventide, Abide With Me. This is a quiet, introspective hymn that ends quite triumphantly, in fact. It's often sung at funerals, but it ends with the hope of the resurrection. So again, there's a dramatic arc to the hymn that we don't often find quite as fully in 17th century hymns that tend to be a little bit more objective unless they're from the more pietistic tradition. But in Abide With Me, the imagery is vivid romanticism. So again here, it's possible to be quite atmospheric, I think, in the introduction, to be atmospheric in the registration for the congregational singing, but still, when being atmospheric, we have to provide good solid structure and core to the sound for the congregation to hang on to. So in general, I would suggest principal tone or flute tone if it's strong and full, or string tone, again, if it has enough core to the sound and enough substance to support the congregation well. It also depends on the choral context. If you have a strong choir to provide leadership to the congregational singing, you can be a little bit more free with what you do at the organ because the choir will provide that leadership. But if it's just you flying solo, then you need to provide something solid for the singers to hang on to. So here's Abide With Me with a slightly creative, whimsical introduction, if we can, on a funeral hymn, and then a couple of verses in different styles, probably a verse 1 and a verse 3. A few ideas about 19th century hymnody and how we can approach that with respect to harmonization, registration, voicing, pacing, and tempo. I hope this video has been helpful to you and that you'll be able to expand your repertoire of approaches to 19th century hymnody with ideas about registration, about texture, about voicing, about tempo, articulation, etc. Please join us for the next segment in which we'll look at 19th century gospel revival hymnody and some more contemporary hymn tunes and some thoughts about how to approach those when playing them on the organ. Thank you for watching.